Thanks, Leanne. Are you able to hear me okay? Super. Welcome, everyone. My name is Jim Sullivan. I'm a member of the APH team. Would like to thank you for joining us today. We're going to get started here. I do want to remind you that on Friday of this week at this same time, we're going to do a webinar entitled Behind the Scenes of the Lightbox Story, where Adam Wilton and Tristan Pierce will join to talk about the new LED mini lightbox and how you can incorporate that tool into literacy strategies with some of your low vision and CVI students. So excited that you could all be here with us today for this webinar series, expanding the technology toolbox, specifically with the Mantis Q40 and the Chameleon 20. Our agenda today, we're going to start with introductions. We're going to do some learning objectives. I'm going to turn it over to Greg and Peter, and they'll get into expanding the technology toolbox, doing an overview of both the Mantis and Chameleon, a demonstration of both products, and then we'll wrap up with questions. And we do want to encourage you to post those questions through the chat throughout the course of the webinar. So joining us from the Windy City is Mr. Peter Tucic, who is HumanWare's brand ambassador of Blindness products. And from a little bit north of him is Greg Stillson, APH's head of global innovation. So we want to thank those guys for joining us and making time to be with us today. I think you guys are in for a treat, as these guys have been collaborating and partnering on projects for some time. Our learning objectives. First, to understand two key differences between the Mantis Q40 and the Chameleon 20. To identify two ideal student profiles that would be successful users of either of these devices. And finally, to identify three different tools which can be used in conjunction with these displays. All right. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to kick it over to Mr. Stilson.
Thank you so much. Can you guys, everybody hear me? Sully, you're able to hear me there?
I can hear you just well.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Just fine.
All right, perfect. Let me start my share. We're going to do all of the tap dances that are needed to make sure that this all works. And everybody should be seeing my screen. Is that true? Sully, you're good?
Yep, you look good, Greg.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you all for joining us. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. As Sully said, my name is Greg Stillson. I recently started at the American Printing House in January, and I'm so excited to be here. I'm doing a role that is relatively new to the American Printing House, really focused on partnerships and innovation here to bring our products forward to sort of the next generation, right? So being able to provide the next generation of products that can really solve the problems in the classrooms that that you as the teachers and things like that are able to help us understand where the needs are. So what I want to talk about today is really us expanding the technology toolbox. For a long time, refreshable Braille products and electronic products, the choices have been relatively limited at APH on what you could choose. There would either be one refreshable Braille product that you could use, and that was about it for any student that you had. And today, I'm really excited to talk about from low tech to high tech, really us moving forward in expanding that technology toolbox that you can get from APH. So on the screen here, I've got three products really focused on our low tech here. So you have your smart Braille, your light touch Brailler, and your mini slate and stylus. If I move forward, we're talking about some new embossers that are coming down the pipe here later this summer. We hope to release the Pix Blaster and the Page Blaster. We'll be doing some more webinars specifically on those embossers, but it'll be, I believe, the first time that you'll be able to get embossers directly from APH on Quota funds as well. So those are another expansion of our Braille technology toolbox. And the part that I'm extremely excited about is the next slide, where we talk about 4 products now that are going to be available to bring Braille to a student, regardless of the age, the skill set that they have, any of that. And those products are the Braille Buzz, which is a very early childhood learning 6-key entry type of device, very similar to a lot of the Leapfrog style of toys and things like that. awesome tool to introduce students to the Braille code, introduce them to the concept of 6-key entry, and really having some fun games attached to that to expand their literacy growth. Then you move to a tool that we've had for some time now, the Braille Trail Reader. It's a limited edition product. It's a 14-cell Braille device that has the ability to connect to your iPhone and synchronize your notes. It has an embedded note taker in the device. We've just recently, I believe 1 or 2 weeks ago, did a Braille Trail Reader webinar with our very own Peter Tucic here, who's who's going to be partnering with me on this. It's a great product to introduce some limited Braille access, and then once you move to using with mobile devices and things like that, along with our tool to be able to transfer the notes to a computer, it becomes a really versatile tool. And then our 2 new products, the Chameleon 20 and the Mantis Q40. These are brand new products that are going to be shipping early summer. And I am extremely excited to talk about them with you today because these take our Braille products to an entirely new level. And spoiler alert, I am using the Mantis Q40 right now to actually control the PowerPoint and to read the bullets that we're going to be going through. So I'm going to be moving through because much of this is information that we're going to be providing. This will be available later on as well. But we want to kind of get to the demonstrations because I'm sure you want to actually see these in action as well. But on the screen here is a photo of the Mantis Q40 and its green carrying case shell. It's a protective shell that goes underneath it. The Mantis Q40, as I'm going to outline here, is a product that is a first of its kind. It is a 40-cell Braille display embedded with a full-size laptop QWERTY keyboard. And this is extremely powerful for a whole bunch of reasons, but most importantly, to be able to combine the refreshable Braille with being able to learn and type QWERTY, standard QWERTY keyboarding skills. So if I move, basically what you're seeing is a full laptop QWERTY keyboard with 40 refreshable Braille cells below it. There are 40 cursor router keys that are above those cells to help you move your cursor to the various cells and things like that so that you can do editing, moving the cursor with whatever device or internal application you're working on. Just to show the different sides here, what we're looking at now is the thumb keys of the device. So the device on the front has 4 thumb keys that are located on the front to allow you to navigate your various elements and be able to pan your Braille forward and back. Just continuing to move the photos here. So as you look as well, so these are the thumb keys here as I continue to move around the device. The left side has a USB host port, so you can connect a USB thumb drive with documents on it. You can also take files that are on the USB or on your device, on your Mantis, and move them to the USB thumb drive as well. So there's a power button and a USB-C charging port behind the power button. And moving to the back, there is an SDHC card slot on the back as well that goes up to 60, or SD card, which goes up to 64 gigabytes of storage if you want to do that as well. That in and of itself is generally the product in a nutshell, what it looks like, all the edges. There's literally nothing on the right side of the device, on the right edge. So everything you need is on the left, the front, and the back. I'm going to continue to go through this. So why did we build it? And this is really something that is a true important thing for me. Is as a product developer, as somebody I've been in the industry for about 15 years, working in product development and product management. The why is the most important question that we ask. And what problem are we looking to solve? Well, for a long time, we've heard from teachers of the visually impaired, from students who use devices that have true 6-key entry with refreshable Braille displays, that there was a lot of hesitation to move to a QWERTY keyboard to be able to learn typing and to learn computer keyboarding skills. because oftentimes those refreshable Braille devices, which were separate from the keyboard, would end up remaining in the locker or the backpack, and that refreshable Braille would not come with them when they're starting to learn keyboarding. And that's a huge disservice to the student, because as we're listening to the audio feedback of the screen reader and we're typing, we're not getting that multimodal feedback at the same time that we're getting the audio content, right? So being able to have a refreshable Braille display at your fingertips while you're learning keyboarding skills makes that transition from a standalone 6-key refreshable Braille device that they're using to take notes and things like that to moving to a computer. It makes that sort of bridge much more natural. And when we look at this, this fosters those skills that are transition skills, right? So these are skills that are going to transition to higher education. If the student decides to go to college, or if the student is going to get a job, you need to know QWERTY keyboarding. Unfortunately, 6-key Braille entry is great for personal use, great for note-taking, great for doing some functions with the iPhones and with the computers in general. But if you're not a proficient typist, unfortunately, employers are not going to teach teach somebody how to do keyboarding. They just expect that is a skill that you possess upon arrival at the job, right? So making sure that the student has these transitional skills built up with the tools that they need to succeed prior to getting into those job markets and getting into the higher ed space, right? So there was a huge need for a product that had enough Braille and taught those transitional skills. And then especially as the markets are evolving today, the job markets, there's more and more blind and low vision folks who are getting into the STEM subjects. And by that, I mean science, technology, engineering, and math. The tool like this is phenomenal for computer programming. As somebody who was a computer science major at one time, realized that my brain was not built for computer science. I ended up going to network administration because my brain was not a computer programming one. I can understand the concepts, but writing code is not a true passion of mine. I do understand the concepts though, and one of the challenges that I had at the time was trying to do computer programming without sufficient Braille at my fingertips. And it's something that you do need to have when you're writing code. It's very challenging to find bugs in your code and inconsistencies in your code without having Braille there to actually identify those. So this is something that we are extremely excited about for the future coders of the world, and being able to provide a tool like this to fit in their toolbox, right? So I jokingly here call this the one keyboard to rule them all. This is a tool that is going to be extremely dynamic with regards to whatever device you want to connect it to. It's a tool that will be able to be connected to your computer, as I've got it here today. I'm running it connected to JAWS for Windows. It also works with NVDA. We're working with Microsoft to make it compatible with Narrator. It's going to work with your iPhone, your Mac, your iPad. We're in discussions right now with Google to ensure that it's compatible with Android and Chromebook as well. So this device is, I always say, a Bluetooth keyboard with an embedded Braille display. That's really what it is. In the same fashion that you use a Bluetooth keyboard with your computer, or you use it with your iPad or whatever you want to say, this is a tool that goes with the student regardless of the device that they're using. And it's a really, really powerful device in that. So that embedded keyboard with the Braille travels with them wherever they go. So let's talk about what's in the box. So when this begins shipping, you're going to get obviously the Mantis Q40. You're going to get a USB-C charging cable. And the USB-C, just a reminder, what that means is that it's a cable that does not have to go in a certain way. It doesn't matter if the student flips it upside down or right side up. You can't break the cable. There's no prongs to break any of that. So it's really powerful there. There's a power adapter that plugs into the wall. I do emphasize that you want to use our power adapter to make sure that it charges at optimal speed. You can use it with other adapters, it just may charge slower. There's a green Mantis TPU case. That's that protective case that goes around the bottom of the device. And then there will be a optional executive products case that will allow you to carry it over your shoulder. And it's a very beautiful leather case that you can purchase as a separate accessory if you choose to do that. The user guide is on board the device, so you can actually find it right from the device's main menu. And it is actually a DAISY book. For those of you who are familiar with that, what that means is that you can navigate item by item or chapter by chapter, section by section. It's very, very simple to navigate there. So awesome to be able to have that right on the device. And then pricing and dates. If I look at the pricing here, I'm really excited about this because this is one of the first times we're going to have a quota and non-quota price for those who are using quota funds and those who want to buy this both internationally and outside of an education space. So from the quota price will be $1,995 for a 40-cell Braille device like this. And a quota price of $2,004, or a non-quota price of $2,495 for those who are not using the federal quota funds. Expected ship dates are, and we're all living in this quarantine pandemic world that we have right now, unfortunately. But this is still up for not negotiation, but we're expecting the best out of this. But our expectation is that we're going to be shipping this in May or June of this year. Looking more like May, but unfortunately, with shipments from China and other places, we're at the mercy of other places as well. So, but it is coming, and it's coming soon. Pre-orders are live for the Mantis Q40. For our quota customers, you can place your pre-orders using your quota funds right now on our website. And if you are a non-quota person who is interested in purchasing this device, you can join our non-quota waiting list. That also is on the Mantis website as well on the aph.org page. You can join that for a non-quota customer as well. We wanted to make sure that the quota customers had the ability to use their quota funds, as we know that shipping and things can be a challenge right now with many schools and service centers not open receiving shipments. So trying to make it as simple as possible for you to still utilize those quota funds and be able to get your orders in now. I want to move on really quickly. We're going to get back into the Mantis Q40 with some demonstrations from Peter Tucic here in a minute, but I wanted to go through the rest of our products as well, and that is the Chameleon 20. The Chameleon 20 is another option, another device that is in the toolbox, right? And this is a tool that is also in partnership with HumanWare. Both of these products, we're so excited to be partnering with HumanWare to make the highest quality refreshable Braille products that we can. And the Chameleon 20 is a really awesome tool. I use it actually the majority of time with my mobile devices. But when you look at this device, it once again has those thumb keys on the device. And as you can see, it also has we'll go to the right side. This device will have text-to-speech on it. At launch, it will not. We're finalizing some contracts with text-to-speech providers for licensing and things like that, but this device will have text-to-speech on it. That is different than the Mantis. The Mantis does not have a voice. It does not have a text-to-speech engine on it, but the Chameleon 20 will. The Chameleon 20 has audio jacks and volume keys on the side there, you'll see. But as we move forward, so you did see the thumb keys, and then on the back of the device, the same SD card and USB thumb drive slot on the left side as well. So much of the hardware is the same amongst both devices. So you still have the thumb keys, you still have the SD card, you still have the USB port, USB-C charging. The difference is that this is your traditional refreshable Braille device. It is your 6-key Braille entry, 20 cells of refreshable Braille. And the Chameleon, why did we build this one? Well, there was a huge need for refreshable Braille. The demand that we saw on the Braille Trail reader was exceptional last year, and it basically showed us that you teachers of the visually impaired and your students demanded and needed Braille from APH. This is the next progression of the Braille Trail reader. It is a really robust and powerful tool. And it's in a tremendously small package. The 20 cells of Braille, I can slip this thing into a jacket pocket. It's so small and portable. It's great for early Braille readers. The touch on the keys is very light, and the keys feel extremely natural. One of the things is my own personal preference here is the space bars feel like regular keys, whereas some of the other devices use different feeling space bars. So for a young student learning to read and write Braille, this is a phenomenal device and really fits their soft touch. The feedback that we had from, this is directly related to feedback that we got from TVIs last year. We brought in several TVIs into a focus group. And one of the things that was really, I would say, a surprise for us was the overwhelming demand that your students have to customize these devices to be their own, right? So to fit their own personality, to fit their mood. So in most cases, these devices will be black or not have a whole lot of color behind them. The Chameleon 20 is actually much more colorful. It also comes with 3 additional protective shell cases that are in different colors, and so the student can choose from a purple, a pomegranate, or a teal, depending on their mood that they feel that day, right? So, and then it also comes with a teal strap carrying case as well, so they can dress this device up however they feel, and it's a way to kind of give them choice, that their device doesn't just have to be this plain black kind of run-of-the-mill tool. So what comes in the box with the Chameleon 20? Well, as I mentioned before, you obviously get the Chameleon 20. You get the USB-C charging cable, same as the Mantis. You get the charging block, and then you get the teal, the pomegranate, and the purple cases that come with it. The teal nylon carrying case with the strap, and then, as I mentioned before, the user guide comes on the device as well. So the devices are running very similar software, and the software is something that the APH is really excited about. We worked very closely with Humanware to customize this software for students. The pricing that you're going to see on the Chameleon 20, the pricing and date, the Quota price, once again, is you have Quota and non-Quota. The Quota price is $1,295. The non-Quota is $1,595 US. Our expected ship dates for this, we're hoping early summer, so expecting sometime in June. Once again, it depends on the COVID-19 situation that we're dealing with, but our expected ship dates are going to be early summer for this as well. I mentioned the software, and the software is something that I think really brings this device head and shoulders forward, right? So this is a tool that not only can connect to all of these other external tools, your computers, your iPads, your iPhones, your Android devices and tablets, your Chromebooks, all that kind of thing, but it also has significant internal functions, so that when you don't have to connect to something else, it is not just a doorstop. This tool is extremely powerful, but will be both of these tools. Mantis and Chameleon run the same software suite internally. And so whether you're connected to an external device or you're connected or you're not connected to anything and you're using it in the classroom, this device really addresses a lot of the in-class challenges that our students face all the time. So with that, I want to introduce a very good friend of mine, and it's up to you, Leanne, on how we want to address. I've been seeing a ton of questions rolling in. Do we want to separate before Peter goes into some of the demos, or do we want to answer questions at the end? It's totally up to
We've
you.
answered quite a few in the chat for most, but I think one that I've kind of seen outstanding that would be good to at least see if you can address is students who are using laptops. This really means they have two keyboards as opposed to one keyboard. And do you have a workaround for that?
So one of the things Peter actually mentioned, and I'll let Peter talk about it a little bit, is on the modern laptops today, you can actually now, for students who don't need the screen, they can actually close their laptop and even put the Mantis Q40 on top of it. I think Peter, you mentioned you do that as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, both of these devices can be connected to the laptop either via USB. I'm currently using it to control the PowerPoint via Bluetooth. And what that means is that basically I have no wires. I could walk around the room within about 40 feet of the computer and be able to control it. But yeah, you do not have to have the lid open. If you connect it, I think through USB especially, the device is still going to be controllable from a keyboard, even with the lid closed. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my good friend Peter Tucic, the brand ambassador from Humanware, and a great partner of ours. And he's going to go over a lot of the internal software functionality, and then do some demos with his computer as well.
And
Absolutely, and I think we'll lead with a poll question. How about we have a poll question, Leanne? Do you want to fire out a good old poll?
I will do that, and Greg, you'll need to stop sharing
doing
your screen while I do that. I am going to launch our poll. What is the age that you believe you would recommend a refreshable Braille device for your student? What is the age you would recommend for introducing a refreshable Braille device for your student? I'll let those roll in.
And what I will do is I will get ready to share. And as Greg had mentioned, and we'll kind of look at some of the menu structure, in addition to looking at getting our hands dirty a little bit inside of a file, as well as looking at how we can drive JAWS. I'm going to demonstrate this with JAWS for Windows via Bluetooth on my PC.
Okay, I'm going to end the poll. Thanks for answering. Let's share and see what people are thinking. 11% said under 5 years old. Almost half, 49%, a 6 to 7 year old. 26, an 8 to 9 year old. 13%, 10 years old or later. And of course, age ranges and ability of student will definitely be taken into consideration, but really interesting. We're starting to see younger and younger ages for refreshable Braille devices in the hands of students. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Leanne, and thank you, Greg, and everybody. It's great to be here. My name is Peter Tucic, and as Greg said, I'm the brand ambassador of Blindness products for Humanware. I cannot say enough about how glad we are and proud we are to work with APH on developing these sorts of products. So we are thrilled kind of with where they're going. As you can see, we have two flavors of this device. So I'm going to be demonstrating with the Mantis Q40. That would be our 40-cell full QWERTY input device, and you should be seeing it. I am working with a document cam, so it's not the greatest quality, but I also would like, for those of you who are sighted, can see my Braille display as well. I'm going to run us through a little bit of what happens on the main menu. So when I press that home button, I'm brought to sort of the main menu, if you will, or that initial screen where I can have my choices of the various internal applications. The very top choice will say editor. And the editor will be where I can come in and actually take notes. And we'll get into doing that in a moment. And I can use the arrow keys to move up and down my menu. So if I press my down arrow, I will then move down to the next option. Alternatively, I could press my space bar to move to the next option. But if I press down, I will see terminal, I will see library, right? I'm just moving down the menu structure. I have the file manager, the calculator, and then we'll have our date and time settings, as well as the settings sort of area. The online services, which we can work with NFB Newsline as well as Bookshare on this device. And those will be done through Wi-Fi, right, through wireless connectivity, which I'll be going into the library in a moment. And then we have the user guide here as well. So again, just a quick run through of some of the, and how we can easily navigate the menus. I can use first letter navigation here. So if I press the letter E on the QWERTY keyboard, I can jump up to editor and so on. If I want to move to a specific place, I can always make that happen. Now, I want to come in and actually demonstrate the editor to lead with. So I'm going to press enter on editor, and we're going to be brought into the note taker main sort of set of options here where we have create, open, and then editor settings. Now, if I press enter on create, I will come into a new blank document. So again, here I can take notes. I can do this via the QWERTY keyboard. So again, I can type just, right on the keyboard, or I can switch this to actually have Braille input. And I'll talk about how I do that. So your 6-key sort of perky duck entry, if you will. But right now I'm in the QWERTY version of this. So I'm going to type this is fun. And again, you will see that as I type, everything is going, I think I just threw my camera into a tizzy, but everything is going to be shown on my Braille display, right? I'm able to use the backspace key to come back and actually take this and delete what I've done. As I type, everything will be shown in proper Braille. Now, the other side of this is, if I want to, I can switch Braille grades on the fly. So there is a command that will allow me to move between contracted, uncontracted, and computer Braille on the fly. So if I've typed a word such as day, right, and I press space and I see that it's .5D, meaning that contracted form of day, if I press Control-Alt-G, I can switch to computer Braille or to uncontracted Braille to read that word in an uncontracted or contracted form. So again, that will allow me to, on the fly, move between the various types of Braille codes. And again, I'm working in UEB here. So if I'm switching, it's going to give me the UEB contracted sort of form. But if I wanted to, I can also enter text via 6-key entry. So on the device, if I press F12 while I'm in a document, so again, you have your function keys across the top of the device. And if I press F12, I will now move into Braille keyboard. And at this point, I would use my FDS and JKL keys to actually come in and type in Braille on the document. So I could type hello like this and press space. And again, that will be in 6-key entry. Again, if I press F12, I move it back into QWERTY entry, where I can then come in and type as I would on the QWERTY keyboard, hello, using the actual QWERTY keys. So again, we're able to come in and work in either method. I know that had come up on the chat, and I know that that was answered as well, but wanted to make sure that that was in. Alternatively, I'm going to come back to the main menu and do a couple of other run-throughs here. So I'm back on the main menu. What I'm able to do, want to come in, before we get into the Braille terminal, because I will talk about the terminal, the Mantis does have a library, right? So I'm able to read DAISY books and books that I bring in from those connected libraries. If I press enter on library, we're going to come in here briefly, and we'll see that I have some various options of what it is that I'm able to work with. So when I'm in the library, I will have my book list. And in my book list, right now I have my NFB Newsline configured. So if I press enter, I will see my list of books here. I have the Chicago Sun-Times. What else do I have here? I have the Chicago Tribune. I also believe I have some other papers that are associated with my favorites, setting on NFB Newsline that I have configured, so my Daily Herald and so on. I can press enter and open one of these papers up. And then in terms of looking for commands, we always have a context menu at our disposal. So if I want to bring up commands, I'm able to bring up, right, a context menu to learn, how do I move through this book, or how do I delete the file I'm focused on, and so on. So we are able to work with that and get those sorts of commands, because it's always going to be the question, how do we drive this thing, or how do we work with these internal applications? How do I save a file, or how do I switch that keyboard mode? Also, I'm going to come down. We're going to briefly look at the calculator, because I want to talk about in the calculator, when I first launch it, it will be looking for Braille entry. And right now, remember, I'm using the QWERTY keyboard. So if I wanted to type something like 3 plus 3, I would hit 3 on the number row. I would then have to hit my shift equals for the plus sign, and then 3 again, right, to mean 3 plus 3, like I would enter it on a QWERTY keyboard. If I press enter, we see that the answer is 6. However, if I press F12 and put myself into Braille keyboard mode, at this point, I am able to type using the Braille keyboard 3 plus 3 again, and press enter and do it that way, so I can actually perky duck it in and get the answer as being 6. So just another demonstration of how you can use this both as that full QWERTY introductory tool to really get that student, that user familiar with QWERTY typing, which is a very, very important skill, as Greg had talked about. We're very excited to bring a product like this forward that has the Braille output with that full QWERTY input all on one device. But you can also, if needed, switch over to the Braille input side of things. I'm going to come back to the main menu, and we're going to jump in, and I'm going to briefly give us a short run around on how I can use this with a screen reader. So at this point, I'm going to share my computer screen. So give me one moment, because I want to make sure everyone is able to hear my JAWS as it speaks. So let me do that.
And as you do that, for the moment, I'm going to mute the chat bar just for a minute so that JAWS doesn't go crazy. So just know I'm muting that for 1 minute. So you won't be able to write in the chat for a moment. Trust me, we will get to those questions. Kind of hold them off on the side of a...
Well, Peter is Peter is switching over. I just saw a message come in that said, "Is there Wi-Fi on the device?" And the answer is yes. That's how updates are downloaded. That's how book synchronization happens. All that kind of stuff. So you can connect these devices directly to your Wi-Fi.
Now at this point, I should be sharing my screen, and you should be seeing it. You will hear my JAWS in a moment, but I'm going to come into Terminal on the device itself. I'm going to press enter, and I'm going to activate the Bluetooth connection option. This device can connect to 5 simultaneous Bluetooth connections. So right now, if I activate the connection for my computer, I will now be controlling JAWS from the Mantis with full Braille output. So to give you a sense of this, if I press Windows D or Windows key plus D simultaneously,
Windows D, folder view, list view, team viewer,
I will move to my desktop, and everyone should have heard my JAWS say that team viewer is on my desktop, and we are now on the desktop, and I can employ all JAWS commands here just straight away from the keyboard. If I use my right arrow, I would move to the right.
Zoom, 18 of 18.
We have 18 icons on my somewhat well-organized desktop here. It's not very cluttered, as some could be, which is very fortunate. But I can use the arrow keys to move around. If I wanted to get into various applications, right, I'm always able to utilize whatever the JAWS command is. I'm going to come into a Microsoft Word document to give you a sense of how we can enter text and really start to show the power of this when we're learning our typing in conjunction with the screen reader and Braille. I'm going to press the Windows key to launch my start menu.
Search box edit.
And I'm going to type in Word, W-O-R-D, or just start typing in Word.
W, Word, app,
And
press right to switch preview.
Right, it gives me that that it populates, so I'm going to press enter.
Enter. Opening dash Word, list box Word, new list box.
All right, and I'm going to press enter on a new blank document.
Print, edit.
All right, we are in a new blank document at this point. Now, where this is very neat, if you're able to see the very left side of my screen, my status cells are here. As we know, JAWS, we can turn those off or whatnot, but those are here, and my cursor is flashing. You may be able to pick up
Peter,
on that.
if
Yes.
people want to see the small picture, they can double click on the small picture to be able to make that bigger or smaller based on what they want to see more of.
Yes, if you're sighted and you want to bring me into focus, you can do that by double clicking, which is something I always forget.
And Peter, have you had a manicure recently? How do your nails look? Are you doing
Hey,
okay?
they are just not, we're in quarantine, Greg. I don't know where you're getting your manicures, but I personally have not had one. No. Ever, I should say. So at this point, what will happen is I am in a Word document, and I'm just going to type a couple of words. So this is fun.
Fun, space.
And again, I'm typing that on my QWERTY keyboard. It will all be reflected on my Braille display. And again, my JAWS settings are set to contracted output, UEB, and again, it's going to take that into account. I can read the information on my Braille display. I can navigate with traditional JAWS commands. So Control Home to go to the top of my file, or Control End
Bottom.
to
This
go to
is
the
fun.
bottom, and so on. The other thing that I wanted to illustrate here is if I'm typing something. So let's say I type I love,
Loaf.
and you'll notice I misspelled that, cheese.
Cheese. Period.
Right? The word love, I put 2 L's in. So there are 2 L's in the word love, and we heard the little buzzer from Microsoft Word and Windows, you know, with the current version of Word that I'm using. But on the Braille display, that word is highlighted because it is misspelled. That word has a .7 and 8 cursor underneath the entirety of it. So again, when I'm reading that back, I'm immediately drawn to the fact that this word is not spelled correctly. And this is very important and a great reason why Braille output is wonderful to use with the screen reader. So I can then come in and correct this. I can route my cursor in here,
Misspelled L.
fix it, right? And the underline goes away. And again, it
List box.
illustrates how I'm able to come
1.
in.
At what age would you recommend
I just
introducing
jumped into the
document 1-word?
but I'm
Document
able
1-word.
to come in and see some of those pieces where without a Braille
Space.
display, you might be missing some of that proofreading, some of that grammatical sort of, you know, content and things. So we're really looking at driving our screen readers, utilizing that auditory feedback with Braille output. And it's very, very important. And it's going to serve a wonderful purpose and a way for us to do that. I am going to turn it back over to
Well,
Mr.
Peter, before
Greg.
you do that, can you
Yes.
do a 6-key entry at this point?
F12.
So at this point, to my
Save as
knowledge,
dialog. Escape.
sorry,
Edit.
not in here. I would have to do that through Duxbury, right? Are you in terms of making it an input? Because we're driving JAWS at this point. We're not
That's
internally
okay.
on the device.
And that's what I wanted to be able to answer. Thank you.
Yes.
Yep, that 6-key entry, the perky duck style of entry is utilized internally in the device's editor. It's a feature that we partnered with Humanware to build, and it's something that is extremely powerful to get a student really kind of in that transition phase from a 6-key entry over to a QWERTY keyboard. It's something that we are looking at doing with the screen reader providers as well, and that's a different ball game, because when we do connect this device, what's really powerful and what's sort of the first of this kind with the Mantis especially is we are not connecting via the traditional way that it is receiving a Braille display. We are actually using what's called the HID, or the regular keyboard human interface device connection, and this is as soon as you plug it in, you can look in and you can see that it's actually in the device manager detected as a human interface device, as a keyboard.
And what's neat is you could do the perky duck. I mean, in Duxbury, there are ways, right? Because this is a keyboard. You could interface that way, but not natively in a Word document.
Well, what I'm really excited about with this is that because it's recognized as a full QWERTY keyboard, you can use it with tools, touch typing tools like the new one that APH released, a web app called Typer, right? So this does work in conjunction with Typer and other tools that are used to teach keyboarding.
All right, I'm going to stop screen
Alert
sharing
from
now.
Jim's.
I was thinking that would be a good idea, so I can turn on the chat again.
Game on. Turn the chat on. Otherwise, everyone would have been inundated with all sorts of JAWS things going on. So you should be good to go.
All right, and what I'm going to do, unless Leanne, did you have another poll thing you wanted to put on, or do you want?
If you're ready to go, go, because we don't have much time left.
All right, so you should be seeing my Chameleon 20 on using our
looks good,
our cam. And then what I'm going to try to do here, we are going to try to share my iPhone screen. So this is the other side of things. So the Chameleon 20, as we mentioned, is running all the same, very similar software to what the Mantis is running. I've got both of my devices frequently connected at the same time, connected to my laptop and my iPhone. So if I get a text message in my iPhone or something like that, I can switch right over to it, respond to it with a keyboard, because I'll tell you, responding with the keyboard is a heck of a lot faster than responding on that touch screen on the iPhone. So what I'm going to do here is quickly share my iPhone screen and cross my fingers that everything works here, because we've had some hit or miss opportunities with this one.
Faith and confidence, Greg. Faith and confidence.
You know,
that's all you need.
Peter, we're not going to get shut down. That's what we're not going to do.
You will make this happen.
All right, everyone.
Panel buttons activate. Press space bar.
There you go.
cross your fingers, and we are going to now silence JAWS so that
Alert field started speech on demand.
you don't hear that. And we're going to try to share my iPhone screen. And Leanne, you
Selected.
can be my eyes. Let me know that
You are
that's
good.
connected.
It's
You are
good.
You are good.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So
Zoom local G Stilson Nest.
the way right now you're on my iPhone's home screen, okay? And on my Chameleon 20, I'm putting my phone down here. Actually, I can't because I have to pair it first. That's why we're doing this. So what I'm going to do is on my Mantis Braille display, you probably can't see it, but it says Editor right there. So I'm right on the Chameleon home screen. I'm going to go to Terminal just by pressing the far right thumb key, or I could just press the space bar or press T. There's multiple ways to skin a cat here. So if I press the cursor router key above Terminal, I see USB connection. That's not what I want. I press the far right thumb key and I see Bluetooth connection. And I haven't actually connected this yet. So what I'm going to do is press the far right thumb key again. And now I see Activate Bluetooth Pairing. And if I hit that, I now see different choices. I can connect to an iOS device. I can connect to a Mac. I can connect to a Windows PC. I'm just hitting the far right thumb key to give different options. When Android and Chromebook are available, those will be coming in a software update that, as I mentioned, will come over the air. So if you do have this connected to Wi-Fi, it'll automatically get downloaded right to your Chameleon or Mantis and be able to be updated that way. I'm going to click iOS because I'm connecting with an iPhone here. So I'm going to do that now. It says locate APH Chameleon 20, and it has my serial number right on the device. So right on the display. So it's telling me exactly what device to look for in my settings. So I'm going to go to my settings, and double tap. This is where the Mantis and Chameleon are different, and I will say a little easier than some other Braille displays. Normally, what you would have to do to connect a Braille display is go into Accessibility, VoiceOver, Braille, and then find your Braille display. Because we're using that standard HID connection, human interface device connection, this is regarded in the same way as the Mantis as a traditional keyboard. So I can actually pair this by going to Bluetooth. And double tap.
Button. Bluetooth. On. Greg's AirPods. Rows 1 to 12. More info. WH1000. More info. Other devices. In progress. Amazon tap
And
negative 0. WH Chameleon 20. 6.
APH Chameleon 20. If I double tap.
Chameleon 20. 6. 5. 0.
We're going to wait for a second. You may have heard that sound, but now that sound tells me that I am ready to actually use the Chameleon to control my iPhone. So now I am using the Chameleon. I went back to my terminal menu and now chose Bluetooth. I see iPhone. If I connect that, I can now use all of the traditional thumb keys to
now discoverable as my devices.
Now I'm controlling my iPhone.
Chameleon 20.
If I press space
6,
with
5,
H, for
0,
example,
2, 0, 0, 1. Setting.
I am now back at home. I
Calendar.
can
Wednesday.
navigate
Settings.
around the
Safari.
phone. I can type in a message. That's something that I can do right here. I'll just quickly show.
Mail.
If I go to mail and I go
Mailboxes.
to
Mailbox. Edit.
I'm going to do a new message.
All inboxes. Gmail. Flagged. Attachments. VIP.
Never mind.
Button.
I'm not in that situation. I don't want to do that. But
phone. One new item.
At this point, what I can do is go into notes. For example, I didn't queue one up, unfortunately, because I wasn't prepared.
Greg, you don't want to show us how many unread messages you have?
I actually think I keep a relatively clean inbox, Peter. I think that is, something that I can do.
What's important here is the commands you're using for those who saw the Braille Trail Reader demonstration. These commands will equate with the H plus space and the how to move between pages, and those commands will be the same for the Chameleon as they were on that device.
Correct. And if I want to change my input and output Braille grade, that is something you can do. You can type in contracted or uncontracted Braille. What I'm going to do just to make things a little faster, because I know where it is on the screen, is I'm going to go to the settings menu.
Settings.
I'm going to go to
settings. General. Control. Display. Accessibility.
Go to accessibility.
Button. Accessibility feature.
To VoiceOver.
VoiceOver. VoiceOver.
To
on.
Bluetooth.
Verbosity. Braille.
Chameleon. Tap there,
output.
and it says APH Chameleon 20.
Input. Contracted.
You see that I'm set for contracted Braille input.
Braille screen input. Contract. Input. Output. Contracted.
And output
Button.
is also set for contraction. So if your student, for example, prefers to type in uncontracted Braille, then they can choose to have their input set to uncontracted Braille. If your student prefers contracted for both sides, they can do that, or vice versa. So that is another setting that is available on the iPhone. One thing of note is if you are connecting the Mantis to your iPhone, make sure that your input, when we have submitted a ticket to Apple, so we're hoping that by the time these start shipping, they're going to have a patch for iOS and Mac OS. But we have submitted a ticket that when you connect Mantis, that 8-dot entry is automatically selected, because right now if you try to type on a Mantis with contracted Braille set in the input, Peter can attest that things go a little sideways at times. So you want to make sure that your input, if you're using the Mantis, is set to 8-dot entry. But with that, I want to stop the share here, and we'll leave it for any questions and wrap up.
Hey, before we get into the questions and wrap up, I'm sure we want to do a poll question, but I do again want to remind everyone that at this particular point in time, you are able to do pre-orders with your Quota funds. For those of you who would not be acquiring the device with Quota funds, we would encourage you to join our wait list. So you can get on a list, and when we are ready to sell to the, I guess we could call the general public, we will reach out to you to let you know that it's time. And as we do some follow-up to this message, in the communication, we will indicate how you can join that wait list. So with that, Leanne, the poll question. Leanne, you're muted.
Missed that.
There
All
you
of the
are.
following are benefits of using a refreshable Braille device for a student that reads, but in your professional opinion, what is the most valuable to a student in the K-12 setting? Is it identifying format in a document, reviewing the spelling of a word, portability, the ability to read content easily? We know all of them are. In your opinion, what is the most valuable? Most valuable.
The other piece here too is that those in the chat are reminding what a wonderful job the two of you've done. So we don't want to get your confidence too up, but in general, just want to let you guys know that
Much appreciated.
The group approves. Okay.
We are thrilled.
Okay, I'm going to end our poll. Thanks for those that did that, and let's share. A majority, 62%, said the ability to read content easily, a quarter portability, and then 8 for reviewing spelling words, and 7 for identifying format. We know they're all important. It was interesting to see what you thought as the most important. We had lots of other, let's see if I can, there we go. Turn that off. We had lots of other questions that I saw coming in. Some were how these compare or contrast to other devices that were out there. They mentioned things like the Orbit 20 and the Touch Plus. Is there anything that you can say that there's different or the same?
So I would say, it comes down to basically what you're looking for in that refreshable Braille device. So in terms of a Mantis Q40 or a Chameleon, you're looking at more of a Braille display with some basic note taking as well as calculator. There's some, for the first time, some onboard functionality in terms of connected services. However, your full-fledged sort of Braille Note Touch Plus brings in kind of that whole, internal note taker power with the browser and with various things running third-party apps and so on. I really think it comes down to what you're looking for and what your needs would be for a Braille device. And that can change or depending on your level of education, that you might be in or what you're trying to complete, as well as just maybe price ranges, and lots of things could come into play. But they're all going to provide Braille output and work in conjunction with screen readers for sure.
And then navigating with the Mantis on iPhones using that QWERTY keyboard, is it a 6-key code? Is it command?
No, so those commands, those would be found, they're common iOS keyboard commands, right, to drive voiceover. You can always learn those by entering keyboard help, which would be pressing voiceover keys. So Control Option K brings you into keyboard help, and you could learn all of those different sort of functionality keys. You know, if you press voice over H to go to home, or your left and right arrow to move around, it's done through keyboard commands, and those are not specific to the Mantis. Those commands are specific to VoiceOver with any QWERTY keyboard.
And
Okay,
if I can jump in just
Yeah, go for
quickly
it.
on that, what's really powerful, and as I mentioned, one keyboard to rule them all. So there's to the left of the space bar, you have on the Mantis, you have Control, Function, Windows, and Alt. When you connect to an iOS device or a Mac device, we try as much as we are allowed to do to emulate the Mac keyboard. So we are not able to switch the Control and the Function keys due to some limitations put on us, but we can turn the Windows and Alt keys into the Option and Command keys. So so when you're not learning a full new key layout, which is really it's a really dynamic device, and our hope is to do something similar with Chromebooks and things like that as well.
And there were lots of questions about the other things to be able to link to, so I'm glad to hear you say that. An interesting suggestion was loading our typer program onto the Mantis.
So the typer program, we could look into that, and there would be a lot of Braille output there. Remember that the Mantis currently does not have any speech output. That is the Chameleon that will have a speaker embedded in, or a text-to-speech engine inside of it. There's just no hardware put in for internal audio. However, that doesn't prevent us from looking into using Bluetooth speakers and Bluetooth headsets to produce audio there. So if you are finding that that would be a valuable feature to add to the Mantis, that is something that we're starting to consider as well. But that is that's a great idea.
I have two more quick ones. One, are we going to make sure that the user guide is also available online? And can you do a brief discussion about the calculator functions?
Yeah, I'll turn it over to Peter for the calculator, because I think he's played with it a little bit more than I have. With regard to the user guide, absolutely, it'll be on our tech manuals page, APH Tech. It'll be right on the Mantis page when that goes live. And then Peter, you've played a little bit more with the calculator. There's been some questions, I think, about the limits of the functions and things like that.
Right, and from what it's kind of in its infancy in terms of me playing with it as well. But it's a basic calculator, right? A basic addition, subtraction, multiplication, division sort of calculator. You're working with basic functionality. I definitely, you're not getting that full scientific sort of calculator experience.
Right, and I think that really lends itself to what this product is, right? This product is not your full note-taker device. It is that bridge product that will serve a lot of students. It may be the only device that a student needs if they're using it in conjunction with other tools. They may use this device as a bridge point to move to something like a Braille note or a Polaris from HIMSS, or something with a little bit more functionality to be sort of that all-in-one tool. But this is a tool that when you look at a basic Braille display and a fully fledged, what are traditionally called as note takers, this leans very much more towards the note taker side. It's not nearly as robust as HumanWare's Braille note products and things like that. However, this is not just your traditional paperweight product when it's disconnected from other tools. And I will say that the reason why we created those internal apps is because we looked at the needs inside the classroom and how could we solve those basic needs with a simple tool like this.
And to honor everyone's time, I'm going to say thank you, Greg. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Jim, for participating. We have really enjoyed this session.
Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you, everybody.
Very much appreciated. Thank you.